Alright, so in this video I have got a 2012 Browning Edition Ranger 800 XP. He just bought it. This is the same guy that had the red Foreman that I did the motor on a few videos back. He bought this, wanted a Ranger for the deer lease and everything, so yeah, he got it, wanted me to check everything over with. The steering is pretty jacked up on it, which I kind of already took a look at, but let's see if we can get down in there. The steering is actually broke completely in half right there, or off the mount anyways. So put a new rack and pinion on this one. Wants to do a 50-inch curved light bar on the top. We're gonna do some reverse lights and just check over everything. Like I said, it is real nice and clean though. It's got I think 3,000 miles on it or so. Dual battery setup, of course. Kind of set up like my brother-in-law's. Good stereo up top. A couple new axles. Wants me to take a look at the winch. Yeah, it's pretty clean though, so let's get to it. Okay, so I got the winch apart, figured out what was wrong with it. It slides in there and just works off of a cam style right there. Just as you turn it, put it in free spool, back and forth. That's the cam for it. Basically what happened is that the tangs, the three little cutouts right there, match up with those three cutouts there. Well, all the cutouts on this are supposed to be higher than what they are, and they just all got stripped out. I mean, it's just plastic, so the only fix that I can do, I mean, it said they're gonna hold up. There's really not much there catching it anymore, but so the only thing I can do is put it back together, put a bunch of like plastic epoxy, rough that up, and just fill this whole cap, put it on there, screw it down. The screw goes down the center, and let that epoxy do its work for as long as it will, until either it doesn't, get a new cap. Okay, so it's the next day after the epoxy is dried, and as you can see here, now it all works. It rises up, rises down, epoxy held up. So now install it. Got it all back on, put that over, and we got free spool. Put it back, lock in, and it's locked in. That portion's done. So this is sometime later, but parts are finally starting to arrive. I know the hurricane, I guess, kind of slowed things down, but got his 50-inch curved light bar in that is going to go up and around his roof. And finally got the old steering rack out. And man, this thing is a pain in the butt on the Rangers, but clearly it's not going to work anymore. That's not supposed to do that. So got him in the new, I went with an OEM rack for him because I know his front diff is spaced up, and some of them were having clearance issues with that. So hopefully it should be just as strong. I mean, I know the Ranger's kind of a problem with it, but it's really his only option at this point. So that's gonna go in. And I don't know how you guys are, if you guys can even get these things out easy. But yeah, got this thing torn apart. Just to be able to get to these back bolts right there. I mean, you can't really fish anything up in there to get those out easily. So just make it easier on me and kind of rewiring everything anyways. That's what I went with. Okay, so got the new steering rack all on. Everything is bolted down to spec at 17 foot-pounds. The thing is, I think these bolts were in backwards, so the bigger facing nut was on the back side. So that's turned around according to spec. So the nuts actually have a little flange on them to better seat that the housing. So hopefully that'll help. But I think what really did it was these backwards armor front forward arched A-arms. There's absolutely like no adjustment right here. I don't know if it corresponds to up there, so I'm gonna play with that, but that's how far I'm out. So if this thing was all the way pushed down, I mean, it's putting so much stress on the housing there, so I got to figure out something with that. And I know the shop's a complete mess right now, but if you look back right here, everything right here is actually wallered out and turned. And so it's definitely been stressed out for a while. But yeah, the blind hole bearing puller from Harbor Freight definitely helped out on this one. That's what I usually do if just the shaft comes out of the cage there. Put your blind hole bearing puller in there and a few tugs, usually comes out. And of course, always spray down your splines there with some penetrating oil. So this Ranger is just about done, and I'll admit this thing kicked my butt pretty good. I mean, there's just so many different things that I had to figure out between, you know, what they did, what they had, make everything work. The stock rack didn't quite go down to the A-arms or the spindles with the setup they got there, so I did have to space those up a little bit. I don't like doing that just because of bump steer, but I got some good bolts in there, and we're going to try this setup for a little bit. The bump steer is not bad at all. Everything's aligned real nice and tight now. The steering is night and day difference, of course. I mean, when you had to go from one being broke and whatnot to everything. So I put him a new axle in there because when I went to pull that one out, it broke, pulled out. Which he knew that. The guy gave him two front axles. Everything is rewired up in here, kind of cleaned up. All of his grounds go to one spot. Put a 50-inch light bar up there for him, a curved one to match his roof there, tucked up nice. New switch panel. I just had him a couple toggles and everything, so for the rear, the front. Everything is back to where it needs to be, of course. There's his old parts. Did a full service on it. Like I said, this thing's been in here for way too long, way longer than what I was expecting, so I don't even remember what I filmed or did not film, so. But it is done, runs good, drives good. Some rear lights up there. I want to put some smaller loom on that. I don't like how that looks, so. Finish up with that and this thing will be done and out of here, but everything is real nice and tight now. Ran his wires through the cage, so now he's not zip tied, of course. And once this one's done and out of here, we'll move on to the next project. So like I said, sorry for not filming much, but it was just one thing after another, after another, after another, and it wasn't worth it. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one.